Good morning. In this session, I shall be discussing about the life cycle of Markantia. This topic is included in the unit Bryophytes of the second semester. I am Shobha Rani, Assistant Professor, Government First Grade College, Chikballapur. Markantia is the most important genus of the family Markantiaceae. It is represented by about 65 species. These species are usually terrestrial and cosmopolitan in distribution, that is, found worldwide from tropical to Arctic climates. These species prefer to grow in moist and shady places like wet open woodlands, banks of streams, pools, bogs, wood rocks, or on shaded stub rocks. In India, Markantia is represented by about 11 species. These species are commonly found growing in Himalayan region. Eastern Himalayan region particularly supports the growth of these species. Some species are also found growing in plains of Haryana, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, and hilly regions of South India. Some of the common Indian species are Markantia palmata, Markantia polymorpha, Markantia simlana, etc. Markantia polymorpha is most widely distributed species. Now if we look into the systematic position of Markantia, it belongs to the division Bryophyta, class Hepaticopsida, order Markantiates, and family Markantiaceae. Then if we move on to the external features or the morphology of the plant body of gametophytic phase of Markantia, the plant body is thalloid, flat, prostrate, 2 to 10 centimeters long and dichotomously branched. Dorsal surface of the thallus is dark green. It has a conspicuous midrib and has number of polygonal areas called areolae. The midrib is marked on the dorsal surface by a shallow groove and on ventral surface by a low ridge. Each polygonal area represents the underlying air chamber. The boundaries of these areas represents the walls that separates each air chamber from the next. Each air chamber has a central pole. The midrib ends in a depression at the apical region, forming an apical notch in which the growing point is situated. Dorsal surface of the thallus also bears the vegetative and sexual reproductive structures. The vegetative reproductive structures are gymma cup and develop along the midrib. They are crescent shaped with spiny or fimbriate margins and are about 1/8 of an inch in diameter. Sexual reproductive structures are borne on special stalked structures called gametophores or gametangiophores. The gametophores bearing archegonia are called archegoniophores, while that bearing the antheridia are called antheridiophores. If we look into the ventral surface of the thallus bears scales and rhizoids along the midrib. Scales are violet colored, multicellular, one-celled thick, and arranged in 2 to 4 rows. Scales are of 2 types, simple or ligulate type and appendiculate type. Appendiculate scales form the inner row of the scales close with the midrib. Ligulate scales form the outer row or the marginal row and are smaller than the appendiculate scales. Rhizoids are unicellular, branched, and develop as prolongation of the lower epidermal cells. Rhizoids are also of two types, that is smooth-walled rhizoids and tuberculate rhizoids. In smooth-walled rhizoids, both the inner and the outer wall layers are fully stretched, while in tuberculate rhizoids appears like circular dots in the surface view. The inner wall layer modifies into peg-like ingrowth which projects into the cell lumen. The main function of the rhizoids are to anchor the thallus onto the substratum and to absorb water and mineral nutrients from the soil. Now if we look into the anatomy of the thallus, a vertical cross section of the thallus of the gametophyte of Marchantia can be differentiated into three distinct regions, that is epidermal, photosynthetic region and storage region. If we look into the epidermis, it consists of a well-defined upper or dorsal and a lower or ventral epidermis. The upper epidermis consists of a single layer of thin-walled quadrate cells containing few chloroplasts. It is interrupted by a barrel-shaped air pores that communicate with the air chambers below. The pore opening is usually surrounded by 4 to 8 superimposed tiers of cells. Each tier is an oval ring composed of 4 to 5 cells. The lowest tier usually consists of 4 large cells which project into the passage, giving a star-shaped appearance to the pore. The lowermost ventral surface of the thallus is covered by lower epidermis that bears 2 types of rhizoids and 4 to 8 rows of scales. The next region is the photosynthetic region. Just below the upper epidermis, photosynthetic chambers are present in a horizontal layer. Each air pore opens inside the air chamber and helps in the exchange of gases during photosynthesis. These are chambers developed cytogenously, localized separation of the cells to form a cavity, and are separated from each other by a single layered partition walls. The partition walls are 2 to 4 cells in height. These cells also contain chloroplast. Many simple or branched photosynthetic filaments arise from the base of the air chambers. Each air chamber opens to the exterior through an epidermal air pore. The chlorophyll-bearing cells constitute the main photosynthetic tissue of the gametophyte of Marchantia. Now let us look into the storage region. The ventral tissue of the thallus lying below the air chambers form the storage region. It is more thickened in the center and gradually tapers towards the margins. It consists of several layers of compactly arranged thin-walled parenchymatous isodiametric cells. Intercellular spaces are absent. The cells of this zone contain starch. Some cells contain a single large oil body or it is filled with mucilage. The midrib is formed of elongated cells with reticulate thickenings. Now let us look into the reproduction in Marchantia. Marchantia reproduces by vegetative and sexual methods. Vegetative reproduction in Marchantia is quite common and takes place by following methods. That is, by death and decay of the older portion of the thallus or fragmentation, by adventitious branch formation or by formation of the gyme. If we look into the death and decay of the older portion of the thallus or fragmentation type, the thallus is dichotomously branched. The basal part of the thallus rots and disintegrates due to aging. When this process reaches up to the place of dichotomy, the lobes of the thallus get separated. The detached lobes or the fragments develop into an independent thalli by apical growth. Then if we look into the vegetative reproduction by the formation of adventitious branches, the adventitious branches develop from any part of the thallus or the ventral surface of the thallus, or rarely even from the stalk and disc of the archegoniophores in species like Marchantia palmate. On being detached, these branches develop into a new thalli. Then the very important method of vegetative reproduction is by formation of gymae. Gymae are produced in the gyma cups, which are found on the dorsal surface of the thallus. Gyma cups are crescent-shaped, 3 mm in diameter, with smooth, spiny or fimbriate margin. The vertical section passing through the gyma cup shows that it is well differentiated into two regions, upper photosynthetic region and the inner storage region. The structure of both the zone is similar to that of the thallus. Mature gymae are found to be attached at the base of the gyma cup by a single celled stalk. Intermingled with the gymae are many mucilage hairs. Each gymae is autotrophic, multicellular, bilaterally symmetrical, thick in the center and thin at the apex. It consists of parenchymatous cells, oil cells and rhizoidal cells. It is notched at two sides in which lies the growing point. All cells of gymae contain chloroplast except the rhizoidal cells and oil cells. Rhizoidal cells are colorless and large in size. Oil cells are present just within the margin and contain oil bodies instead of chloroplast. So moving on to the dissemination of gymae, mucilage hairs secrete mucilage on absorption of water. It swells up and presses the gymae to get detached from the stalk in the gyma cup. They may also be detached from the stalk due to the pressure exerted by the growth of the young gymae. The gymae are dispersed over long distances by water currents. If you look into the germination of gymae, after falling on a suitable substratum, gymae germinate. The surface which comes in contact with the soil becomes the ventral surface. The rhizoidal cells develop into rhizoids. Meanwhile, the growing points in which lies the two lateral notches form the thalli in opposite direction. Thus, from a single gymae, two thalli are formed. Gymae which develop on the male thalli form the male plants, and those on the female thalli form the female plant. Now let us look into the sexual reproduction in Marchantia. The sexual reproduction in Marchantia is oogamous. Oogamy is the form of sexual reproduction in which the female gamete, that is, egg cell, is non-motile and is significantly larger than the male gamete. The male gametes are typically highly motile and usually travel to bring about the union of gametes during fertilization. All species of Marchantia are dioecious or heterothallic, that is, the male and the female reproductive structures are developed on separate plants. Male reproductive bodies are known as antheridia and the female as archegonia. Antheridia and Archegonia are produced on a special, erect, modified lateral branches of the thallus called antheridiophore and archegoniophore respectively. Further, the growth of the thallus is checked because growing point of the thallus is utilized in the formation of these branches. Although the gametophore are erect branches, they are actually the direct extension of the prostrate vegetative thallus. This is clearly evident from the dorsiventral nature of the erect shoots with air chambers, air pores and rhizoids. The transverse section of the gametophore, that is antheridiophore and archegoniophore, shows that it can be differentiated into two sides, ventral side and dorsal side. Ventral side has two longitudinal rows with scales and rhizoids. These grooves run longitudinally throughout the entire length of the stalk. Dorsal side shows an internal differentiation of air chambers. The antheridiophores show 1 to 3 cm long prismatic stalk bearing at its apex a slightly convex, that is peltate disc, which is usually 8-lobed structure. Each lobe represents the apex of the branch along whose upper or the dorsal medial line the antheridia are borne in a row. The antheridia develop in an acropital manner, that is, the oldest are being at the center and the youngest one towards the periphery. The antheridia are within the flask-shaped antheridial chamber. Each antheridial chamber contains a single antheridium. Each antheridial chamber is separated from one another by air chambers with air pores. The internal structure or the longitudinal section through the disc of the antheridiophore reveals that the disc consists of air chambers alternating with the antheridial cavities. Air chambers are more or less triangular and open on the surface by a pore called ostiole. In the diagram, you can observe that the antheridia arise in acropital succession, that is, the oldest one near the center and the youngest one at the margins. A mature antheridium is globular in shape and can be differentiated into two parts, that is, the stalk and the antheridium proper or the body. Stalk is short, multicellular and attaches the body to the base of the antheridial chamber. A single layered jacket encloses the mass of androcyte mother cells. The jacket layer consists of sterile cells. The androcyte mother cells later metamorphoses into antherozoids or male gametes. The antherozoid is a minute rod-like biflagellate structure. The process of metamorphosis of androcyte mother cell into antherozoid is called spermatogenesis. It is completed in two phases, that is, development of a blepharoplast and elongation of androcyte nucleus. Now let us look into the archegoniophore, or also called as carpocephalum. The archegoniophore arises at the apical notch and consists of a stalk and terminal disc. It is slightly longer than the antheridiophore. It may be 5 to 7 centimeters long. The young apex of the archegoniophore divides by 3 successive dichotomies to form 8-lobed rosette-like disc. Each lobe of the disc contain a growing point. The archegonia begin to develop in each lobe in acropetal succession. That is, the oldest archegonium near the center and the young archegonium near the apex of the disc. Thus, 8 groups of archegonia develop on the upper surface of the disc. There are 12 to 14 archegonia in a single row in each lobe of the disc. The first formed archegonia with their necks directed upwards become mature and fertilization is achieved at this stage. After fertilization, the stalk of the archegoniophore begin to elongate and the sterile central part of the disc start to enlarge enormously. As a result, the marginal apical region of the disc along with the groups of archegonia are pushed downwards to the lower side of the disc. The archegonia becomes inverted by the curvature of the disc. The youngest archegonium come close to the stalk and the oldest towards the periphery of the disc. After the curvature, there is a development of one layered plate of tissue on either side of each group of archegonia. Thus, each group containing about 12 to 15 archegonia is enclosed by 2 layered pendant or fringed involucral sheath known as perichecium or involucre, which hangs down from the underside of the lobe of the disc. There is an intercalary development of long, stout, green cylindrical processes or rays from the periphery of the disc between the groups of archegonia. In Marchantia polymorpha, the rays are 9 in number. Now if we look into the mature archegonium, a mature archegonium is a flask-shaped structure. It remains attached to the archegonial disc by a short stalk. It consists of upper elongated, slender neck and basal globular portion called venter. The neck consists of 6 vertical rows enclosing 8 neck canal cells and a large egg. 4 cover cells are present at the top of the neck. Now let us move on to the fertilization in Marchantia. Marchantia is dioecious. Fertilization takes place when male and the female thalli grow near each other. Water is essential for fertilization. The neck of the archegonium is directed upward on the dorsal surface of the disc of the archegoniophore. In the mature archegonium, the venter canal cell and neck canal cell disintegrate and form a mucilaginous mass. It absorbs water, swells up and comes out of the archegonial mouth by pushing the cover cells apart. This mucilaginous mass consists of chemical substances. The anthrozoids are splashed by raindrops. They may fall on the nearby female receptacle or swim the whole way by female receptacle. It is only possible if both the male and the female receptacles are surrounded by water. Many anthrozoids enter the archegonial neck by chemotactic response and reach up to the egg. This mechanism of fertilization is called splash cup mechanism. One of the anthrozoids penetrate the egg and fertilization is effected. The fusion of both male and female nuclei results in the formation of diploid zygote or oospore. Fertilization ends the gametophytic phase. After fertilization, the following changes occurs simultaneously. The stalk of the archegoniophore elongates. Remarkable outgrowth takes place in the central part of the disc. As a result of this growth, the marginal region of the disc-bearing archegonia is pushed downwards and inward. The archegonia are now hanging towards the lower side with their neck pointing downwards. Wall of the venter divide to form 2 to 3 layered calyptra. A ring of cells at the base of the venter divides and redivides to form a one-cell thick collar around the archegonium called perigynium or pseudoperianth. A one-celled thick fringed sheath develops on both sides of the archegonial row. It is called perichicium or involucre. Thus, the developing sporophyte is surrounded by 3 protective layers of gametophytic origin, that is, calyptra, perigynium, and perichicium. The main function of these layers is to provide protection against the draught to the young sporophyte. Between the groups of archegonia, long cylindrical processes develop from the periphery of the disc. These are called rays. They radiate outward, curve downward, and give the disc a stellate form. The zygote develops into sporogonium. A mature sporogonium can be differentiated into 3 parts, namely the foot, seta, and capsule. Foot is bulbous and multicellular. It is composed of parenchymatous cells. It acts as an anchoring and absorbing organ. It absorbs food from the adjoining gametophytic cells for the developing sporophyte. Seta connects the foot and the capsule. At maturity, due to many transverse division, it elongates and pushes the capsule through 3 protective layers, that is calyptra, perigynium, and perichicium. Capsule is a spherical to oval yellow structure concerned both in the production and distribution of spores. It has a single layered jacket of sterile cells. Inside the wall, there are numerous spores and elaters. The spores are very minute, rounded, and provided with outer thick exine and inner thin intine. The elaters are long, narrow, spindle-shaped cells pointed at each end and with 2 spiral thickenings on their walls. These elaters are hygroscopic and help in the dispersal of spores. As the sporogonium matures, seta elongates rapidly and pushes the capsule in the air through the protective layer. The ripe capsule wall dehisces from the apex to the middle by 4 to 6 irregular teeth or valves. The annular thickenings in the cells of the capsule wall causes the valves to roll back, exposing the spores and elaters. The elaters are hygroscopic in nature. In dry weather, they lose water and becomes twisted. When the atmosphere is wet, they become untwisted and cause the jerking action. Due to this, the spore mass loosens and spores are carried out in the air current. The spores are very small. They are haploid, uninucleate, globose and surrounded by only two wall layers. The outer wall layer is thick, smooth or reticulate and is known as exospore or exile. The inner wall layer is thin and is called as endospore or intile. Germination of spores and development of gametophyte shows that under favorable condition, the spore germinates immediately. Before germinations, it divides by transverse division to form two unequal cells. The lower cell is small in size. It is relatively poor in cell content, achlorophyllous, and extend to form a germ rhizoid. The large cell is chlorophyllous and undergo divisions to form filament or protonema. At this stage, the content of the cell migrate to the apex. Marchantia is dioecious, that is 50% of the spores develop into male thalli and 50% develop into the female thalli. Now let us look into the alternation of generation in Marchantia. The life cycle of Marchantia shows regular alternation of two morphologically distinct phases. One of the generation is haplophase and the other is diplophase. In Marchantia, haplophase or gametophytic phase is the dominant phase. It bears the sexual reproductive organs which produce male and female gametes, that is, anthrozoids the male gametes and egg the female gamete. With the result of gametic union, a zygote is formed which develops into a sporophyte. Zygote develops into sporophyte. In Marchantia, sporophyte is represented by foot, seta and capsule. The sporophyte produces the spores in the capsule. This is the diploid phase. The sporophyte produces spores. During the formation of spores, the spore mother cell divide meiotically and haploid spores are produced. The production of spores is the beginning of the gametophytic phase or the haploid phase. The spores germinate and produce gametophytes which bear sex organs. So in Marchantia, two morphologically distinct phases, that is haplophase and diplophase, constitutes the life cycle. The life cycle of this type, which is characterized by alternation of generation and sporogenic meiosis, is known as heteromorphic and diplohaplontic. So, this was about the life cycle of Marchantia in brief. Thank you.